You're listening to The Kylo Show, the podcast where we talk about how to keep your love on no matter what and why whole healthy families are going to save the world. And it starts right now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Kylo Show. We're back.
We are.
And it's just the two of us this time, though.
I know. We're Benless.
We're Benless. Well, I'll never really be Benless.
That's true.
Neither
will I.
Yeah, he's always
heart.
Here. I know. What would we do without Ben, huh?
Let's not even imagine.
No, let's not. But he's been, I picked a really good one.
You did.
I picked a really good one.
Good job.
And I picked him when I was young, too. That's the crazy part is somehow my brain was working well enough to identify what are some good things that we want around at 14 and then 16 when we started dating.
I remember at your wedding, at the part where, I'm going to give you away.
Mm-hmm.
And we got there and he starts coming out and he says, hold up. You just hold up right there. I'm not done. And I looked at you like, if you want to change your mind and you don't want to trade me for him, this is a child. You're trading. I thought, this is a real deal. Giving away the bride is a real deal.
Well, you only had one girl as well, so
it's all I could handle.
We have two, so I think about how different those two girls are and how different who they are going to pick and the wedding that they're going to have and the family that they're it makes me giggle thinking about what's we're going to be looking at, you know. Lincoln, obviously, I don't know who he's going to choose, but he'll choose somebody. And, I'll probably, the hardest part is probably be less involved with him and his family than I will the girls, just because they're women. And I think that's the reality of the girls kind of stick around their family.
You just never know, right?
It's true. I never know. But that is just wild to think about your kids growing up and all of the things that comes with it. But it is exciting. So Ben was with us for 2 episodes, and we talked through some fun things with marriage. Just trying to prepare for it. We are doing an event coming up, which is fun. So thinking about that, and so that's why we had Ben on to talk about
our
this.
San Diego
Kylo marriage workshop.
Yep, and we're working our way towards Kylo retreats.
Yeah, we've got lots of fun things that we'd like to do.
Yeah,
specifically around marriages, which I know that you have really done a ton of work with marriages, obviously, and then Kylo is kind of not so specific to marriage. It's relationships, as how you wrote it. But it's been fun, I think, for Ben and I and the next generation to be doing it side by side in a way that, I didn't see you, Mom, do as early on in your ministry worlds. Like you were both tackling different beasts. There was a season where Mom was traveling with you all the time, but
I was 47 when I wrote "Loving Our Kids on Purpose."
You were 47.
47.
I feel like I didn't realize that at all.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought you were younger than that.
No, I was 33 when we took over Weaverville.
Oh.
So Mountain Chapel.
Yeah.
And then I was 39 when we got to Bethel.
Okay. Yeah.
And it took a little while, but we were 43 when Delaney was born.
Something like that, 43,
42,
42, somewhere
42,
in there.
43, yeah.
So, okay, well,
yeah.
I didn't realize that. I think that Loving Your Kids on Purpose is as old as Adeline. Wasn't it
Yep.
born the same year?
Yep.
2009.
No, that would have been Culture of Honor.
Oh, okay. So she's as old as Culture of Honor.
Yeah.
And her name means noble and serene. So, honor, serene.
There you go.
She's right in there. But anyways, enough about my kids. So the marriage part, we talked about DISC, kind of opposite attract, just being how different you are. And you tend to, I definitely would say, Ben is very much my opposite, and I was in love with all of his differences when we were dating. And then we got married.
And it gave you a target
Uh-huh.
of things to change.
And when we got married, I didn't love them as much.
Mm-hmm.
And then I loved them less. And then I felt threatened by them. And then I wanted to change them.
Yeah.
That was kind of how that went through. And we talked a little bit about that. But what do you do when that starts happening? Like, I don't know that I would say it that clearly in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But, what are the red flags or what are the warning signs that you might be doing this for a newly married couple? Because we have like DTR course that they do, define the relationship. Then they do the premarital thing. And then we talk about this, but they don't hear much of it in those moments. And then about a year, sometimes less, they creep into our office with, did you know that they were so different?
Yeah.
Did you know this was going to happen? You remember that conversation we had before you got married? How do you help people see and recognize those patterns of trying to change somebody?
I mean, let me just go back and say, because somebody might have missed some of these episodes. Sure. And, the DISC is a tool that we use to help people see their predictable behavior moving forward. So it's 4 letters. DISC is dominant tendencies. I is influencing tendencies. S is steadfast, and C is conscientious. Mm-hmm. So D's want to win, I's want to have fun, S's want to connect, and C's want to be right. Mm-hmm. Right. So if in a nutshell, there you go. And then it's blended. Most of the time, these are blended. So you want to protect connection and be right, or you want to have fun while you win, or you want to be right and win, and then there's the weird one, which is I want to be right and have fun, and there's the I want to stay connected and win. Yeah. So those are dynamics, and when you then take that and put that in a marriage, this is where you begin to identify, you scare me. Mm-hmm. I scare you. I hurt you. Mm. You feel powerless when I do this thing I do without even thinking. All that is what begins to then assault our connection. All that is what begins to make us question our decision to get married. Mm. Like, how in the world am I going to survive this thing that you do? I've told you 10 times that it drives me nuts, and you keep doing it. Now I think you're trying to do it to drive me nuts. Yeah. And I that's the, we talk about the la 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 in the premarital stuff because we overlook this. Yep. Like, it's fine. It's cute.
Yes. I love that.
I just adore it when you do that thing that you do. And then eventually it's, now I know why I don't do that thing that you do nonstop. And so, the real fun, loving I who just is doing life from the hip, and we know it would be fun. I bet nobody's ever tried this. Is attracted to the C that is calculated and careful, and they're like, wow, I need more of that in my life because, wow, I just get in so much trouble impulsively doing, spontaneously doing X, Y, and Z, and eventually, and the C says, oh, what I need in my life? I need more spontaneity and more flexibility and more impulsivity. They probably never say that, but I need more spontaneity anyway.
More fun.
Even more fun.
Yeah. And
then we get together and we say, can we plan our spontaneous fun? And could you give me a little warning when you're going to be impulsive? And could you quit being so structured and so controlling and such a wet blanket? Here we go. Mm-hmm. How do we ever communicate in a way that gets our connection back and allows us to be ourselves around each other? Mm-hmm. And this is where the commitment to grow and adjust comes in.
Yeah. I think about early dating, Ben's high I, my high D, in a room full of people. You know, I was just by his side while he laughed, introduced me to a million people. I then would figure out who I wanted to ever talk to again and not. And then I would, if we ended back at a party again, I would be with the ones that I met that I liked, and that's where I would stay. Kind of my personality. You know, Ben was so energized by people. He gave him life.
Still is.
It's totally still the same way. I remember he says we're leaving, so I would go to the door, and all of a sudden he's not there with me because he's hugging every single person goodbye in the room. And so that was cute and funny, and you know, was the joke. And then when we were married,
Let's go.
totally, I'm done. I would just go straight to the car. You know, that's kind of how it became. And then just always having people over to the house for dinner, always having everybody, you know, it's more the merrier. We've got room, we've got space. And I'm thinking, like, we're on a budget. We have a family to feed. You can't just feed all of your single dude friends. They eat all of our portions for the week in one meal, you know. So this is, you know, all of these things. So all of that, we just had a war all the time if we wanted in our differences.
And eventually we villainize one another.
Yes, we did.
You know, we villainize your strength and what you do really great. We have found a way to make it evil so that you'll stop doing it because nobody wants to be evil. So let me keep talking until I convince you that you're evil.
Yeah. And the hard part, you know, which we did talk about this in truthing each other, is I am really good at just kind of that strong D personality and convincing. That
Blunt, direct.
Totally.
Truly convicted.
And so it was, you know, Ben just adapted to all of that and became more and more afraid of me. And that was the dynamic that we had for a very long time, which...
and really you're afraid of each other.
Yeah.
You know, because you're coming across as strong as you are because you're afraid, and he's disappearing increasingly because he's afraid.
Yeah. We're just two very afraid people who then live... it's funny when I think about the early years when we were both at our worst afraid of each other moments, is we would get into bed and, you know, it was like there was ice in the bed with us. There's just this cold
distance
presence. And, you know, that was the closest that we would physically be to each other. And we would just be enduring it, not wanting to speak because we knew that it would just create more problems. And, you know, we did that frequently, you know, and we would have a solid run till, you know, somebody would make an attempt to pursue a love language and kind of get us back to a 2 so the bed felt warmer. It's probably why we have at least 3 kids. You know, we figured it out enough those times. But it was, you know, and then there were moments where my control freak self would embrace the spontaneity and fun, and we would all have a good time. But I was afraid to admit to that because I felt like I would be losing control of whatever I believed I needed. But and that's the painful part is a lot of people have that same cycle. And
that's where they give up.
Yeah.
You know, that's where they feel overwhelmed. That's where they feel like this is an impossibility that will ever change. And, you know, society today says, yeah, you know, there's no reason for you to struggle with anything. I mean, if it isn't easy, get out of it. And the payoff, really, the maturity piece is that you, in your commitment to each other, in your covenant, you reached down, you grabbed another gear, you learned how to listen. You learned how to communicate. You learned how to truth.
Yeah.
You learned how to stand in the truth. You learned how to adjust without it feeling like you're losing. Ben learned how to hear your hurt and your fear without feeling rejected.
Yeah.
All that maturity is what then casts out the fear. And people just bail.
Yeah.
It's like, I got it. I get it. It hurts. It's scary. It's pressure. But, if this is the only one you've ever heard us ever talk about, then you know that I totally believe there's a time to get out of it.
Yes.
But generally, I'd say no, you're in the crucible. You're being turned into something beautiful.
Yeah.
And if you jump out now, it's an incomplete work.
I think that's one of the things that Ben and I are trying to give away with all the couples we meet with is most of the time they're in the spot that Ben and I found ourselves. They want to be committed. They want this to be a covenant relationship, but we are so terrified of each other and so hopeless. And it's that hopelessness that drives people to a decision that actually isn't in an alignment with heaven, that actually want. It's just that hopelessness. I'm drowning and I don't see any hope on the horizon. So one of our favorite things, usually after our first call with somebody, especially if we're both feeling confident that this isn't a dangerous situation or an abusive situation, but just they need some tools and some adjustments, and you see the light in their eyes of that tiny little flicker of hope that they're actually hoping that you have hope. That's really what it feels like.
Yeah, well, that's exactly your job, right?
And Ben and I saying, you bring the problems and we'll bring the hope. And so to have somebody that's willing to stand with you, that has hope, that's walked through it, sometimes is enough courage to show up to the second appointment. And that's the big heart and why Ben and I love doing it together is he brings all of him and all of his personality and all the things that he's great at that I'm not great at, and I bring what I'm great at. We have different strengths, and so when we get to do coaching together with married couples, it's fun to watch us. I know when Ben's hitting on something, and I can soft pitch him to getting a home run, because I know I'm sensing it. I recognize where he's going. I recognize in this person. And so to see our differences now as strengths that we can set each other up to hit, that out of the park feeling of like, okay, I helped you see this problem. I helped you understand this fear. I helped you really discover what needs to be owned, and then watching them discover it or watching them own it is just so rewarding. Like, okay, we're doing it. We're doing it. And, we meet with people from all over the world, which is really fun. But it's really an honor to be trusted into someone's marriage when we've just met them. And I think that Ben and I consider it a great honor, and knowing all the reps that we've taken, we are really full of hope that there's a beautiful outcome waiting for you.
It's a revelation of how scared we are of the truth, and it feels almost unbearable to stand in the light together.
Yeah.
Until you get used to it, until you start to see that this is actually very, very productive for us. When I think about this, I think about those cold plunges. Some friends
invented that.
some friends said, "Hey, you got to do this thing. It is so good for you. It is so." And you're like, "Really?" So it was like 39 degrees or something.
37 something, just above freezing.
And I remember getting in there and thinking, no, I am so not in this. I don't care what it's doing. I'm not in this. And I think a lot of people feel like that when they start to learn to stand in the light together, see each other, hear each other, learn about each other, and realize it's not my job to change your experience of me. It's my job to learn what it is that you need. And eventually, if I supply what you need, your experience of me will change.
Yeah.
But it's not my job to change your experience. It's my job to figure out what it is that you need that I didn't know you needed, or I was scared that I couldn't supply, or I thought if I told you what I needed, you'd control my life. Instead of, you know what, you can't control me. I can't control you.
Yeah.
But I can stand in this truth, stand in this light, learn, and then supply.
Yeah. So much of Ben and I's breakthrough came through learning really good information about ourselves and then being able to figure out how to communicate it to each other. And that was a massive game changer for us. Was, I grew up in the Silk household. I came into marriage with all of my tool belt was fully equipped. I knew what to do, and yet I still partnered with the fear and being powerless because of just really fear was winning, and that's the permission I gave it. So the more that both Ben and I leaned into, we have to figure out what I need so I can give you that information, because right now I'm just trying to survive, and I'm not doing anything that's communicating success by trying to survive. So it is a real thing, trying to survive a marriage, and and that's what keeps us, I think, in the cycle of we had a good day. Okay, let's just try and have a good day, instead
Don't muck it up.
Yeah, and we just settle for good days instead of a great life. And, I think a big part of our Kylo marriage workshop that we're doing in San Diego is we want people to have a great life in their marriage. And we don't want you to be trapped in this cycle of a good day every now and then.
And growing in your self-awareness, your being clued into who you are, it makes you feel like an adult. Like all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, this is how I am powerful. Is I know me.
Yeah. And
it's not an automatic. It's something you literally have to develop.
Some of my favorite encounters with different couples that we've worked with are ones that have been married for, 25 plus years or maybe 30 years. They seem significantly older than Ben and I, and they're willing to learn something new. So if you're ready and willing to learn something new, I would invite you to come to the Kylo Marriage Workshop that's coming up May 20th through 21st. And it's going to be a great opportunity for you to go from a cycle that you maybe don't want, or maybe it's just what you've settled for, to increasing the opportunity to have a great life with your spouse. And that's something that we're all excited to be able to do. And so we would invite you to join us in San Diego. Again, if you want more information, KyloMarriageWorkshop.com is where you'll get that information. And we're just going to keep advancing whole healthy families, right?
That's it.
Okay. Well, we'll see you in just a minute. We're going to take some questions. All right. Well, we're back, and we're going to jump into our questions.
Awesome.
Which, if you would like to send us a question, make sure you do that at thekyloshow.com. We have a spot for you to go ahead and record your question or testimony. We love those. They're super helpful to the show, so please keep sending those in. All right, so our first question that we have today comes to us from Mary.
My husband and I have been studying Keep Your Love On now for about a year. We've been separated for a while. we're a little bit stuck on understanding the difference between having boundaries and being controlling. Could you address that, please? Thank you.
Well, I guess it depends on if I'm trying to tell you what to do or if I'm telling me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the place to start. When I say you can't do X until you do Y,
Yeah.
then that's where people start feeling controlled.
Yeah.
But if I say, I will be glad to meet with you in person as soon as we're successful having conversations over the phone, then I didn't tell you to do anything. I just told you what I would be doing and when. And so, I need to feel protected in our communication style, and the phone helps me protect myself. I can just hang up and say, maybe we could try later. And if you're respectful on the phone, then we can maybe work our way back to, I can end the conversation and you'll stop your mouth.
Yeah.
Because I can push the little red button on the phone and stop your mouth. Or at least stop my ears from vibrating. You can still talk to your phone if you want to. But so those are built in. It tends to be, I'm telling you what you have to do next is a boundary. Like, no, that's an instruction.
Yeah.
But if I'm communicating to you what I will participate in next, that is good information, and that's a boundary.
I think the boundary that has some hope in there, meeting in person, that's the hope. Like, I would love to meet with you in person. I need to feel safe on the phone first, or whatever it is. I think a boundary, we remove punishment when we have a hope on the other side of it. Even at really, really hard boundaries, I would love to have you in my life as soon as I feel respected and I can trust you. I still have hope here. I'm still willing to open this door. I haven't bolted it, locked it, and blown it up so you can't ever enter it. There's a requirement, but I've got hope for restoration. And I'm not looking to punish you with it.
Yeah, and there's probably the goal of enjoying the relationship that people just overlook it like it's like some obligation. You have to be, I'm your mother, I'm your husband, I'm your son, you have to be in a relationship. Actually, I don't. Yeah. Which is why we are here, is because you think there's no requirement. Let me tell you just basic requirement. I need to enjoy my time with you. Yeah. So we're going to have to get to that. That's working on getting this connection, some connection. Like, okay, I want connection with you. That is my goal. We've got to get back to that, because right now my goal with you is to create as much distance that I need to be safe from you. And that's real. Yeah. And I want to be reconciled in this relationship, and there's the hope. Yeah. And so the difference between you don't have access to your grandchildren, I don't ever want to talk to you again. Yeah. That was your third strike, you're out. Those kinds of conversations, that's rejection. That's punishment. Yeah. But I would be glad to have a phone call if it stays respectful. And we'll see where it goes from there.
And respect goes two ways. Like, you have to be respectful as much as you're requiring someone else to be respectful.
Absolutely.
So paying attention to that as well. You can't require a respectful conversation and you go into attack mode or telling them about, you did this, you did that, you did this. It's talk about yourself. Yeah. So. And
this is the Kylo 5 again. We're just going to practice a new standard of respect and honor that we hold ourselves to.
Good. Thanks, Mary. That's a good question. All right, our next question comes to us from Anna.
Hi, Danny and Brittney. And just off the bat, I'm so sorry for this very unfair question. I know I'm not giving you the backstory or two sides of the story, but my question is, how do I navigate marriage with a COVID narcissist who doesn't realize that he is one? With 4 children, we've got 4 children aged 10 to 13, so they're heading into their teenage years. So I think there's a bumpy ride lying ahead, and I need lots of wisdom and discernment. Because I've become more powerful, I feel like much better equipped to handle our marriage. I think the worst is over, but all of that's been swept under the carpet. So we've got this very bumpy carpet, and my husband, for the life of him, can't see why things have to be restored, why trust has to be built after an affair. So he just but he's repented, and he's bitter about the repentance and being hauled in front of an elder couple eventually. So it's just, it's very much an unrestored situation. And my question is, do you have any general advice or materials that you can point me to equip me to navigate and know, to recognize the tipping point, or just to create a situation which creates enough space, perhaps emotional space, to be more sustainable? Because I'd really like to provide a stable environment for my kids, but actually just be good to them.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
A few years ago, I read a book called The Pandora Problem by Jim Wilder. And it really, I think the subtitle is Dealing with Narcissistic Leaders and the Narcissism in Ourselves. And as you read this book, you begin to realize, oh my gosh, I have a bunch of this stuff in here too. And it's not a clinical book where you can just start throwing labels around, but I think when society gets rolling on a kind of the label of the year, like right now we have groomer, like you're a groomer. Everybody's grooming everybody. That that comes from way back when we were talking about child abuse for the first time in our society. But now everybody's a groomer. And everybody's a narcissist, and everybody's a whatever. And you're like, okay, you got some serious brokenness that is making my experience with you no fun. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to communicate to you a boundary, kind of ties on that last question there, but your lack of ownership of this problem is probably what's scaring me the most, because it gives me no hope that it's going to change. So I don't know what she means by he's repented if we have a bumpy carpet.
Right. And that the worst is over.
Yeah.
So,
And I think sometimes what happens is, I'm really sorry, I won't do that again. And time passes and you haven't done that again. But the level of selfishness, disrespect, manipulation, gaslighting, demanding everybody line up with your reality, not listening well, not being willing to adjust, not seeing me, not being willing to step into the light together. Those are all things that are relationship maturity 101. You've got to be willing to move together. And that's, we've been talking about this for a while, but this is a demand. And the other side of it would be, if I'm in a relationship with this kind of person, I have a skill set that accommodates that I have to change. I have to grow. I have to mature. If I'm a conflict avoider, I definitely need to learn how to step up, tell the truth, hold them accountable, and let them know what I'm going to do based on what they're telling me they're going to do. Instead of, I make it my job to try to change them, or I make it my job to try to protect the children from them. Like we have a pet cougar in the house, and it's my job to keep the cougar away from the children. Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah. Like the children are a bunch of chickens that this cougar's just stalking.
Yeah.
And I don't know that the children will ever feel really empowered to be powerful people with a cougar that's lurking around at every corner.
They won't.
And so to be successful and the kids being in an environment where they grow up feeling like they're powerful people,
Yeah.
that they don't have to fight for their life in every situation where there's disagreement. I think that's one thing what is the atmosphere you want to live in and what do you want to create for your family?
Yeah.
Because I don't know any kids that grow up powerful around that kind of environment.
Yeah, and this family needs outside intervention. They need help. They need to, shoot up a flare and say, hey, whoever it is that we call ourselves accountable to needs to come and take a closer look at what's going on. Because to just try to, take a shot to the chest and clean it out yourself with some Q-tips and some hydrogen peroxide and sew yourself up and eat right is not a good plan.
Yeah. And it does sound, there's not much backstory or much to this. And, as much as Anna sounds like she has done her work in trying to grow and trying to be more powerful.
She got to this point.
She got to this point. And this is the point where I think she's going to have to be willing to say, I can't take one more bullet for this family and think.
Or it's not my problem to solve.
Yeah.
My problem to solve is not whether or not you ever take responsibility for your life. My problem to solve is what am I going to do if you continue in
this behavior,
being a victim.
Yeah. Hard stuff, Anna. And so we're definitely going to be praying for your family and really the courage it takes to get that outside viewpoint and praying for someone that's equipped to help walk you through this. Wow.
Right. Somebody who understands that if you really are dealing with somebody that has a label, a clinical diagnosis of a narcissist, then please understand that just developing relationship skills is not the fix. This person has got to go in and get healed up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they just learn higher level manipulation skills.
Definitely hard stuff. Again, Anna, we're praying for you. And good thing we serve a good God. So we're going to go ahead and jump into our testimony now. All right, so we're going to take a testimony from Kristin, which is kind of fun. I don't know who this is, but I always love our testimonies. They feel like a little glimpse into what we've gotten to help encourage and change. So it's kind of like a mystery surprise egg or something.
Yeah, it's like planting something and watching it grow.
Yeah. All right, awesome. Here we go from Kristin.
Hi, my name is Kristin. Over the years, people have questioned my confidence. Through watching and studying Keeping Your Love On, I learned that my fear of confrontation and conflict have allowed people to walk over me. I never set limits. I never allowed my yeses to be yes and my no's to be no's. I've also learned I am too passive. I allow others to place themselves as rulers over my life. I've always struggled with taking responsibility for boundaries. Whatever you place boundaries on shows value on those things. So my priorities were being taken advantage of because I wasn't placing boundaries on them. I wasn't requiring respect regarding my boundaries. I'm so concerned with everyone and how they feel about me. I never realized I was selling others short and letting them see the real me. I now understand playing the victim only takes away from my responsibility and empowers the ones who I feel have walked over me. We can only control ourselves, and once we learn that, others begin to respect your boundaries and limits. I always felt overwhelmed in my lack of confidence and realize now it's because I felt powerless, and powerless people create anxieties for themselves. I was always looking to others who had resources for happiness, joy, and love, and never truly had it for myself. I became completely dependent on them, and all my concerns became about their happiness. I also realized my inability to control others. I can't control myself, so I'll do best to control myself control you is what I would tell myself. This all stemmed from fear and past hurts. But the Bible says we haven't been given a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and sound mind. It also says cast all your cares on him because he cares for you. I pray keeping your love on impacts you the way it has me. God bless.
That's awesome.
Sounds like a journey.
It does. And I mean, you can hear the Kylo 5 in there as she's talking. And, really the discovery of being a powerful person and how freeing that is, how encouraging that is, how confident that feels. Our oldest Lainey, she's wired totally different than me and then has some similarities in there. But watching her have to tackle having a boundary, what I love is the other side of a really hard conversation, but that she did a good job on, is how she walks around proud.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm hearing here is I'm proud of myself for taking good care of myself.
Yeah, it's called self-respect.
Yeah.
And self-respect is found in value. Like, you know what? I had enough value to communicate that this was really important to me and that I require something in relationship to that. Yeah. And that takes so much courage. And as you're listening to this testimony, you hear a person who is afraid and did it anyway, or
do it afraid.
Do it afraid. I keep messing that up.
Yeah, that's right.
But it very much is a courageous decision, a courageous lifestyle. It's okay. Here we go. I'm back to this again. Normally, what I would do is disappear, accommodate, adjust, and not today, Satan.
Yeah.
Not today.
Not today. When Ben was on here, one of the things he talked about was when he would confront me, doing it afraid, is there was just all this anxiety. I'm terrified, but he's doing it, and that God hasn't given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And I think that that's where we start out in this being afraid, but we're leaning into him and we're doing it anyways. And that's where the power, love, and sound mind come, is in the process of doing it afraid. Yep. And that's kind of the experience I see and hear in what she's talking about is I'm leaning in and I'm going to just keep having value for myself, which is going to change the relationships in my life and probably produce relationships that she wants to protect and have healthy boundaries around. Yeah. Which is great. And
so hopefully we'll get a bunch of people coming to San Diego.
It's true.
Into May.
That would be fun to see you all there. We got a couple people coming from Florida. We saw that coming in from Texas and a few coming in from California. So, I mean, California is like right there in your backyard. Let's go. Let's fill this up. And so it'd be a lot of fun. And again, the whole heart behind our Kylo Marriage Workshop is that whole healthy families are going to save the world. And that's what we believe here on the Kylo Show. And that's what we're chasing after. So your partnership is appreciated.
Yeah. So May 21st, San Diego.
Come see us.
What's the website?
The KyloMarriageWorkshop.com.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's where we're going to...
Hopefully we'll see you in sunny San Diego.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Never miss an episode of The Kylo Show by subscribing to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or watch us on the Loving on Purpose YouTube channel. Don't forget to submit your questions and testimonies to thekyloshow.com. The Kylo Show is produced by Allie Armerding, co-produced by Ashley Beck and Anna Hill, sound engineered and edited by Taylor Silk, and show promoter Kristin Zamora. Don't forget, whole healthy families gonna save the world.